What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So today, with it being a Monday, we're going to go through this week's goals and objectives on trading 212. So over my last few videos, I've discussed my plans on making my overall portfolio fully diversified, and by doing so, we've added in numerous companies across all 12 of my portfolio sector pies, and also we've added more capital into some of my current holdings. I also stated last week that once we had all of this under control, from this week onwards, we're going to start drip feeding some of my capital in to the new positions. So this brings us to our first goal of the week, and that's to get all 11 of my new positions started, and I'll only be drip feeding in tiny amounts of money into each of the 11 of these at the start, again, just to get the positions off the ground and running. The second goal that I'm going to discuss in today's video is that I'm going to be dollar cost averaging on some of my existing holdings that are over 3% in the red. And the third goal this week is kind of not related to trading 212, but in terms of YouTube, and that's to get to 500 subscribers. And we can see here we're currently on 484, so just 16 away from our next mini goal of 500. So as always, if you're new around here, please consider subscribing to the channel, as it would really help me and the channel out going forward. And with all that being said, let's dive right onto my trading 212 portfolio. With the first goal being to add small amounts of capital into each of my 11 new holdings, let's just have a quick look and see what these holdings are. So just before we get into that, you can see that currently we're up about 8.46% or €390, and the overall account balance is just sitting over the €5,000 mark. But every Friday we do an updated trading 212 weekly update, so there's no need to go into that today. So firstly, let's look at the 11 companies. In communication services, we have Verizon and Netflix. We have one company in consumer discretionary in the form of Target. In my consumer staples pie, we have two new holdings that we'll be adding positions to in the form of Beyond Meat and Walmart. Energy sector, we have no new additions, similar to ETF. Financials, we don't have any, we just have our normal 5 we have. In healthcare, we have two new holdings in the form of Abbott Laboratories and Stryker. In the industrial sector pie, we have Boeing and FedEx. Materials, we have no new positions. Real estate, we just have the one in the form of Stag Industrial. Tech, we have a new addition as well in the form of IBM. And in the utilities, we have no further new positions. With there being 11 new additions, I'm only going to be drip feeding in a tiny amount of money into each stock. So I'll probably put in about €10 per stock, which will equate to €110 invested today. And the reason I'm keeping it small at the start is because I only want to drip feed money into each of these companies, and I also want to have my other capital available to dollar cost average, which will be our second goal of the week. With dollar cost averaging, one of the main reasons why I have so many companies in my overall portfolio, I think we have about 50 companies or so at the minute, and that is mainly, first of all, because of diversification, but also second of all, because it gives me more opportunities every week to dollar cost average. So for example, let's say we had just two companies in the form of Coke and Apple. They'll rarely go into the green or into the red, should I say, after a few weeks of holding these companies because of blue chip. So you need to have a numerous amount of companies, because if you only hold a few companies in the long term, it'll be very rare where one of them will go back into the red. So by having numerous companies, and in my case 50 plus, you'll always kind of have opportunities for some of your companies to go into the red. And that's one of the main reasons why I have so many positions to help improve my dollar cost averaging. In terms of the way I dollar cost average, I usually wait until I see any of my positions drop below the 3 to 5% mark or even more. So as we were last few weeks, we were kind of restructuring my overall portfolio. We didn't really dollar cost average into any of my funds or holdings. So kind of from this week on, we'll start to be doing that a lot more aggressively. So let's just have a quick look down to see what companies would fit this criteria this week, and that we'll be taking advantage of dollar cost averaging to overall improve my position price per holding. So in consumer services, there's no need to dollar cost average yet. In consumer discretionary, we can see here that nothing is under my threshold as of yet in there. Consumer staples, we only have the one in the red, but that's only down 1%, so I'm going to leave that a while, as I believe my capital would be better suited in other places. Energy, all in the green, similar to ETF. With my financials, again, we're all in the green, so that's fine for now. Healthcare, Johnson & Johnson is the one that's in the red, but it's only down 1%, so I'm leaving that. I'll keep a close eye to see if it does drop below the 3%. In terms of industrials, again, all in the green so far. Materials is where I'll be starting this dollar cost averaging, and a prime example here is Barick Gold, that's currently down 16.32%. Now, over the last few weeks, I've been monitoring this company, and it kind of started off down about 8 or 9%. And then, as you know, because the last few weeks, I wasn't really dollar cost averaging in any of my positions, I said, oh, I thought Barick Gold would go back to kind of into the green, but it hasn't. It went down even more. So it's down 16% as of now, my position. Again, that's perfectly fine in my opinion, because this is kind of down to some corruption claims, and also the price of gold is kind of gone down a bit as well. But that's because the markets are cyclical, and you need to realize that what goes down must go back up, and what goes up must come back down, etc., etc. So the reason I'm going to be dollar cost averaging in here is because it will go back up in price in the long term. So in my opinion, this is kind of getting your stock at a discount. So I'll certainly be putting money into Barick Gold this week to help improve my dollar cost averaging. Next up, we have my real estate pie, and here we can see that there's a few, or actually 4 of the companies in the red, albeit because these are new positions. And as I said, similar to what I'll be doing this week, when I added these 4 new positions in, I only put €10 or so into each to start off. So again, it's kind of no surprise in the red as of now, because I haven't dollar cost averaged at all in these companies. So we can see here that American Tower is down 2.5%. So I leave that until it goes down below 3 if it does. Stag is pretty much break even. Welltower is down 1.8, and Essex Property Trust is down exactly 3%. So this week I'm going to be focusing on Essex Property Trust, and I'll also look at American Tower and Welltower to see if either of these drop below my threshold. In terms of my technology sector, we have 4 companies in the green here and 1 IBM. Again, this will be a company I'll be adding in positions to today as well. And finally, my utility sector pie, similar to, let's say, my real estate, I've only added in these 4 or 5 companies. I started off with only about €10 or so into each of these positions, so I haven't dollar cost averaged whatsoever yet. So we can see here that next era energy is down about 2%. Brookfield Infrastructure is down 3.6%, and American Waterworks is down 3.2%. So again, the utility sector will be one of my sectors of choice this week in terms of dollar cost averaging, and we'll be focusing on the bottom 2 here as such. But I also just want to note that in terms of my overall portfolio, utilities and, let's say, materials and 1 or 2 other sectors I don't really want to focus too much on, so I'll only be putting a tiny amount of my capital into such sectors. So for example, we can even see here that there's only about €50 or so in my utility pie at the moment, in comparison to, let's say, the one above it, the technology pie, which has nearly €1,100 invested. So certainly, as I want to be fully diversified, I won't still be splitting my capital up 12 ways evenly. It will be distributed in different weightings, because I feel there's a lot more potential and there's a lot more risk reward, etc., in some other sectors than others. So that's just a kind of brief overview of my first 2 goals or objectives this week. Again, firstly, to add small positions in each of my 11 new holdings, and second, to dollar cost average in some of my current holdings that have dropped below 3%. And again, just finally, the third goal here, you can see on my list, is to get to 500 subscribers. So we're just 16 away from that, as I said at the start of the video. And I just want to say thanks very much as well to all the continued support for the 484 people that have already subscribed. It does mean an awful lot in terms of getting new subscribers, and it kind of pushes me as well to try and improve my videos and make the channel better in the long term, so that it can be more enjoyable for everyone and more informative. And kind of the main objective of this channel, well, there's 2 really. First, it's to track my own investment journey from start to finish, and second of all, probably the more important of the 2, is to kind of help new investors similar to myself, and kind of help them if you make any mistakes, or if I make any mistakes, I could kind of make you aware so that you might not make the same mistakes I did. And also, if I do something right, then maybe you might learn something as well and be able to make money. So that's kind of the 2 main goals of the channel. And as I said, we're just 16 subscribers away from our next goal of 500. So that would be great if you get there by the end of this week. So with all that being said, that brings you into today's video. Once the markets open later on, I'll go ahead and complete the first objective, and that is to add a small amount of capital into each of my 11 new positions. So thanks very much guys, have a good start to the week and I will talk to you all in tomorrow's video.